Welcome to All About That K-pop Life, where we get into
The good, the bad, the ugly, and the weird stuff in between.
let's get into it. Welcome to the first episode of All About That K-pop Life podcast.
The good, the bad, the ugly, and the weird stuff in between.
Yes, child, because this whole 50-50 situation falls into that weird category. I don't know if it's for the good. I don't know if it's bad. It ain't ugly yet. Well, it's getting ugly.
It's getting ugly. I categorize this as getting ugly right now.
Yeah,
because there's a
Right.
lot of things that are being lost, and poor girls.
just
like, yeah.
When we thought we knew the story,
Oh no,
the
it gets
bombshell
better.
dropped.
It
That
gets
50-50
better.
done filed a trademark for their name.
What? And their individual artist names.
Right. Like
2
y'all
months
y'all just got
ago?
here.
2 months ago, though? Like,
Yo, like what?
yeah.
Okay. So I'm sure everyone has heard by now, even those who are not K-pop fans have heard by now,
Mhm.
because this has affected things outside of the K-pop verse, as we like to call it.
Mhm.
But 50-50 is a Korean girl group that made their debut in November of 2022, I believe. And if you haven't heard their song, you have not been on social media within the last month or two, because their song is everywhere. And the song that we're talking about is Cupid. Just log on to TikTok, go to Instagram, anywhere, you'll know this song.
Na, 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 Cupid.
Right. We all, whether you want to hear it or not, you have heard that song.
That I'm telling you, that song woke me up yesterday, and I was like, "What the heck?"
I mean,
It woke me up in my alarm, and I was like, "Wait, I know this song, but why is it playing on my phone right now? It is my alarm."
and it's so funny because when you mention, if you were to mention 50-50 to somebody, they're like, I don't know. And then you say, no, 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 Cupid. And they're like, oh,
And they
I know
know.
that song.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do Young. Now I know.
Now I know.
You know, but yeah, so the group consists of 4 members, and most of them were born the same year I graduated from high school, so that makes me feel great. We have Sena, who is the leader, main dancer, and sub rapper. We have Aran, who is the lead vocal and lead rapper. We have Kina, who is the main rapper and sub vocal. And we have Shio, who is the main vocal and lead dancer. So, yeah, I feel like we were just getting to know this group, just getting to know these girls, and then all of a sudden everything just imploded on itself.
Yeah. It's like they got really big too soon, but at the same time, it was like, it was great for their career, but now it's like everything's shutting down basically.
Yeah. So, okay, if y'all haven't heard, it's all over the news. It's all over the Korean news. It's all over American news. It's essentially everywhere. And basically, to sum up what kind of makes sense of what's going on, is that there is an issue with the copyright for the song for Cupid. And there's an issue with the copyright versus the neighboring rights versus the trademark that the group has filed for their own name. So, okay, let's just go from all angles and all sides and kind of talk about the fight that's happening right now.
Also, like, I feel like the first thing that we did find out, though, at least from my side, was that the group itself was suing Attract.
Yes, and Attract is the label that 50-50 is on. When you go on their website, I mean, they have other things happening, but their website is literally dedicated to 50-50.
Yeah. And it makes sense, right? Because the song became so big.
Yes.
But it looks like one of the reasons, and we can, kind of talk about this more later, but one of the reasons was because one of the members, Aran, had surgery. And she was actually not feeling very well. And there's issues with them not letting them like sit out, even though they have health issues and all that stuff. But then we have another side that says, oh, we're taking care of them, blah, 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 blah. So there's 2 sides to the story. But from the group side, they're saying they're suing because they announced that she was in surgery without even asking her if that was okay. So that's one of the main reasons that the group itself is suing Attract as the label. So,
Now that
um,
okay, so that begs to differ the question, right? So the fans are kind of torn between what's happening as well because a lot of them came out early and were in support of the CEO John Hong Jun and essentially like how he poured his life savings into creating this group. It was reported that he was had to get rid of his car, a luxury watch, was sleeping in his car at one point. But then the fans also came back, and the fans, shout out to the Honeys, that's the name of the fan club for 50/50. But the fans also came back and said, "Oh, well, within a month, he had recouped all of that back, so it wasn't as destitute
oh,
as it seemed." But
mm,
regardless, this man invested in this group and made everything all about
mhm,
this group. It was reported that he had gotten a home for them in Gangnam with, their own separate bedrooms. And if you know
mhm.
anything about brand new K-pop groups, regardless of the state that their company is in, they do not
They
start
sleep
out
in
like
dorm
that at all.
rooms.
If
The
you
the
were to watch
luxury ones sleep in dorm
Yeah,
rooms.
like if you were to watch the background behind BTS, if you were to watch the
Mhm,
background behind Big Bang, and these are some of the biggest groups in K-pop, you
mhm.
would know, even the background behind Super Junior, you would know
Right,
that they did not start out that way.
right,
They started out not having anything to eat, managers
right.
stealing their food, a whole bunch of
Mhm.
stuff, crazy stuff happening with them. But
Which
yet
is
they are
still
where they
not
are.
right,
No,
but
not right at all.
that's what was going on.
Yes,
Um,
that's essentially what happened.
Also, I just remembered there's an article somewhere that talks about how, because this is from the fans, right? They were talking about how they were in some show and the host asked them, so their CEO was sleeping in the car at one time, but the way that it was the information was given out at first, it made it sound like they were making fun of the CEO for having
Mhm,
to like sleep in his car and whatever. But it sounds like the host was the one to ask the question, and all they did was say yes.
mhm.
So there's a little bit of like she said, who he said type of thing, and
Yeah.
like I guess because we know we're getting all the translations and stuff, and we can't really see the shows. I don't know what show that was. We can't really know exactly what
If
happened,
you know, comment,
but
let us know.
yes, yes, because like there's a lot going on. There's a lot of like messiness. That's why I
Yeah.
said it's weird.
And my thing is like, I'm wondering if it's a thing about, like you said, rising too fast, too quickly. Like, so the group kind of debuted from obscurity, became who they are. And by obscurity, I don't mean like they were nothing. I mean, like we as a whole did not know who they were. We are still in the phase
Mhm.
of getting to know who this group
Right.
is, who these fans are. Shout out to everyone who knew them before any of this
Yes.
happened, before
Yes.
the song took off. Y'all are the real OGs, y'all are the
Yes.
originals. Shout out to y'all honeys. But we, the general public, are still getting to know who 50/50 is. And that's the
Mhm.
whole point of this, right? To get out here, to get known, to get notoriety. So the
Right.
question is, in his care of them, of making sure that he spent all this money, millions of dollars, millions of US dollars, I think it averaged at like $20,000 a month at one point,
Yeah.
to make sure that they were comfortable and that they debuted in a way that would put them here. Did
Mhm.
he do too much to raise their expectations on what they were expecting? Because think about it this way, if you're used to a certain way of coming out and that's happening and then that can't happen anymore, or that's not
Right.
happening in the way that you thought it would,
Right.
does that create a dichotomy like in your mind where you're thinking, okay, I should be having more than I think I'm having?
Mhm.
And then on top of that, we have a whole other middleman situation that's
Yeah.
happening that's kind of making this worse. So we have producer An Sung Il of The Givers, who, fun fact, also works or worked with Camp. And if you know anything about Camp, especially in the States, you know
Mhm.
that Camp Festival for LA was its own situation that
It
happened
was a
last year.
We will have a whole episode on this.
Because we were there.
We
We
were
were.
at camp and we enjoyed ourselves.
We did.
Regardless of everything that happened, we had fun.
We
That is
did,
all
but
I'm going
it
to say about
wasn't
that.
without the
No,
tears,
it
the
wasn't.
internal tears of
Yes.
not seeing Kai
Almost not
perform
internal
live.
tears
Yeah,
because I was very, very sad.
yeah. But shout out to all the artists who did make it
Yeah,
because
they were
they made
amazing.
it was an amazing show. But
Everybody was amazing.
with this that name carries an omen
Oh,
with it. So when it's
ooh,
now associated with this whole 50-50
yeah.
drama, it just discredits any
It makes it messier,
validity
man.
this man had in business. So, not to make light of the situation, we're not laughing at the situation. We're just like
No.
trying to figure out everything that's happening, just like y'all are.
Yeah,
So,
it's just like we keep going into it and we're just like, this is ridiculous and like unbelievable, but at the same time
right,
believable.
right. So, okay, the song Cupid
Mhm.
was originally bought, purchased, quote unquote, from, and I'm trying not to butcher these names. I'm going to say them the best that I can. Adam von Menser, Mac Fiender, Mac Feldner and Louise Udin, who are students at a musical school in Sweden.
Sweden.
However, they were not credited in any way, shape, or form for creating this song. And as of now, An Sung-il and The Givers, the production group, is claiming 99.5% of the song's copyrights, as indicated by the current Korea Music Copyright Association records. So there actually is a video out there of audio
Mhm.
between the CEO and An Sung-il, and the CEO is essentially questioning him because he got a report from the Korean Music Copyright Association about, hey, you purchased copyright for this, but we don't have record of like what's going on. And he's asking him, okay, well, what's going on with these copyrights, when it's going to be posted, do you have the receipt? And he's trying to assure him that everything's working the way it's supposed to work, it's going to happen
Mhm.
within 3 months, even though the CEO is like, it's already been 2 months, where's this at?
Yeah.
So just to explain a little bit behind the copyright versus the neighboring copyright. So basically the money was given to An Sung-il to purchase the copyrights from this school in Sweden. So apparently what happened was the $9,000 or roughly $10,000 that
10,000.
was
Mhm.
given was purchased. They purchased the neighboring rights, and the neighboring rights gives you performance rights of the song. So if you don't have that, you can't perform it anyway. So that's important. Then what's said is that outside of the money that was given to purchase that, they used CEO's money and Attract's money to purchase the neighboring rights, but they used their own money to purchase the rest of the copyright. So that way, that kind of cuts where it does cut Attract out of the purchasing power, and they are technically not publisher, technically not listed on that because it's not their money; it's the
Mhm.
giver's money. So it kind of like cut them out of the deal entirely. So even though they have the rights to perform the song, they don't actually have the full on copyrights of the song. That leaves the givers getting the main percentage of the song. Attract is essentially not making the money they should be making on the song, which means in and of itself, the group is not making the money they should be making for the song
Right.
either. So the givers also claim that they legally obtained all copyrights to Cupid from its original composers through a transfer of rights contract. However, because we mentioned before, the transfer of rights contract was not made with money from Attract. Therefore, Attract does not own any of the intellectual property rights to Cupid, while simultaneously the givers cannot be held accountable for not listing the original foreign composers. So shout out to our sources on the web, all of the K-pop sources, including Koreaboo, All K-pop, Google,
Forbes.
Forbes, everybody, because this is everywhere.
It is
Dispatch,
everywhere.
everybody is on this story. And so basically, this boils down to how things are signed,
Mhm.
who they're signed by. The fact that these were students at a music school, they don't
Right.
have the same precedence that an actual artist or a full-on composer or producer that's in the industry would have. So it's a possibility that things were not known. It was also an international deal, so then you have issues there within the music
Mhm.
industry. And then you have people that just probably didn't have the best interests at heart when trying to do this. So that
It's a whole
a
mess,
perfect storm
man.
of mess. And then you drop on
Yeah.
top of that the bomb that was revealed that 50-50
Right.
had purchased their trademark for their name and their individual performance
Names.
stage names.
Yeah.
And neither the producers nor the company knew
Nobody
that that was a
knew.
thing. So
And they did
how
this like 2 months ago.
yeah, like How? How is that a thing?
It's just crazy. Like, also, like, the how do you even say that? The inners and outs of everything that's going on, and that the sneaking around, kind of, it feels like. And it's from all parts at this point. It's
Yeah.
from all parts. Like, the only one that I'm kind of seeing like maybe all right is the Attract CEO.
At
But
this
at the
point, we don't
same
know because
time,
now Ansangil is
yeah,
like, "Oh, you don't want me to release the things about you," and I'm like, "Okay, well, what's
right.
happening here?
What is
What's really
going
going on? This is
on?
just complete messy." And the saddest
Also,
part about this whole thing is that they were just getting started. The
yes,
world is just getting to know this group, just getting to know these girls whose dream was to do this,
yeah.
and now it's tainted with this scandal, and
Mhm.
they can't perform. They were announced at KCON LA. That was shut down. They were
Yeah,
announced to be in the new huge mega hit predicted Barbie movie that's about to come out.
right,
Margot Robbie was just in South Korea,
right.
and they couldn't even promote with her because they
No.
can't do the music video anymore.
Everything is canceled, completely
Yeah.
canceled for them. And it was all huge things that would have propelled them further. So at this point, it's like, kind of feel bad for the group at the same time, but at the same time, we don't really know what's going on with them
Yeah.
inside. Like, they're also really young, and
Mhm.
like, who's like advising these kids on what they're doing, right? Because for them to have done this 2 months ago, filed a trademark for the group's name and their own artistic name, somebody had to like advise them to do that.
Yeah, like what made them want to do that
Right.
without letting anybody know?
Right. And
Did
that's
they feel
not to
like they were getting
say,
used?
right, and that's not to say that maybe they had seen, all the groups that are now, taking their name and leaving the companies and all that stuff, but this is groups that have been set, that
Right.
have been already
You talk
debuted,
about
people knows about
GOT7,
them, like
21,
yeah,
like, these groups
these groups
are
are legends.
legends, and they had to
Like,
fight to get
right.
their names.
They had to fight for their names. And this is like, are you trying to not have to fight for your name? Because at the same, like, now it's set.
Shout out to the K-pop stars taking ownership of
Mhm.
themselves. Shout out to
Yes.
them because we've
Yes.
seen a surge into this, like we mentioned, we got 7, 21, and
Yep.
a whole bunch of other groups.
Mhm.
But even recently with Omega X and what was happening with their
Oh
group,
my
they were
god.
being like abused, horrible treatment, and they
Horrible.
left. They very publicly left
Yeah.
their group, their entertainment label, and have since signed with another label and are continuing to keep their name, keep their brand, and move forward as a boy band group. So shout out to them for being able to do that. On top of that, we had the most recent news of EXO
Right.
CBX with Chen, Baekhyun, and Xiumin, and
Right.
how they were unhappy with the large dog in the fight, SM,
Yeah.
and their treatment. But we also saw how that was resolved fairly quickly. Um,
With a settlement.
so the
Mhm.
surgence of them fighting back is good, but at the same point, who's with Omega X, that was very clear what was happening there.
Yep.
With
There was a
SM, there
lot
was
of
always this
evidence.
looming third
Yeah.
party that was revealing information. And
Right.
I'm wondering if we have that same situation here with 50/50. Is there
That'll
a
be
looming
interesting.
third party in the background that is alluding them to things that may or may not be happening? Are they trying to let them know what's going on between the CEO and the producer, which is now public knowledge because of everything that's happening because it's a lawsuit? Like, we don't know, like, we know how it started, but we don't know how it started.
Right. We don't know what the truth is at this point. Like,
Right.
all we're going by is the articles that are coming out.
Yeah.
And a lot of the articles like end up contradicting themselves when they start finding out new information.
'Cause it's
So it's like, what?
nobody knows.
And like, yeah. And it's like, at first there was also mention of Warner Korea and stuff.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
it's like, okay, so there's so many companies being mentioned right now that it's like, I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah. I hope the fans know what all it takes to get you by the time you get the
Mhm.
music video, by the time you get the song, by
Oh
the
god.
time you get the concept art and the trailers and all that stuff, there's a lot of work that goes into
There's
this.
so much work,
So a
so
lot of
many
times when the
hours.
fans are like, "Oh, they're stuck in a dungeon, we'll never hear
Mm-mm.
from them again," or why sometimes there's a lot of factors that play into that. It could
Mhm.
be the artist is sick and you don't know, the artist had surgery, you don't know, the artist is tired and they can't write the song, or they're not
Mhm.
happy with how things are going, especially if it's a label that lets them have creative rights to create their own things.
Right.
Or it could be the label's not happy with the production team that made it,
Mhm.
or it's not good enough, or they're not catching the dances quickly enough.
Right.
So it's usually not always, I said that to say, it's usually not always one or the other. Like, it's
Right.
usually a combination of things. It's not always this label is sabotaging the artist. They don't want
Mhm.
them to come out. They're keeping them in the dungeon. We hear that all the time. That's usually not the case.
Right. There's also a lot of money that goes
Yes,
into this, and
yes,
unless
people
you
have to get
have that
paid.
capital, you can't really do much.
Right, people have to get paid, but then also even with these
Mhm.
large houses, you think about it, all of these international collaborations, you have
Yep.
international producers, you have demos coming from
Mhm.
international writers, you have to translate these things, you have to go through these copyright situations. So all these things take time. If he's saying it takes 3 months for the publishers to get the rights for it to be posted, just imagine that in the process of trying to create a song. And so you won't maybe hear from them until like a year from now, because then they also have to get this, they have to purchase the song, they have to translate the song, they have to record the song, they have to learn the dance moves, they got to create the dance moves, they got to learn the dance moves, they got to create the concept for the music video, they got to shoot the music video, they got to do the styling, they got to get everything down, they have to
Everything.
practice, they have to learn
Yeah.
for the performances, and then by the time you're finished with all of that, here we are a year later,
Mhm.
and this is the debut we told you about last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
just keep that in mind. These are people, these
Mhm.
artists, they're artists. I refer to them as artists. That for a
Artist.
whole the whole idol thing,
Yeah.
I don't have no
Mm-mm.
idols. I
No.
don't. Because when you do that, you take the humanity away from the artist.
That's
You
right.
make them into something that they are not. So these are people.
Mhm.
They have feelings, they have bodies, they have aches, they have
Mhm.
pains, just like we do.
This
They
is
poop
their
just like we do.
job. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Like, how do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
think, like,
Come on.
really? Come on.
They poop and it stinks.
Normal bodily functions also happen with the artist. Like, they're not just dolls or robots, you know? The funny thing is, like, you also have to remember this is their job.
Mhm.
Like, just like how you go to the 9 to 5 or whatever type of job you go into, whatever hours you do, this is their job. The main difference is like they're in the public eye
Mhm.
and their job doesn't really have a set schedule at all. They can go hours, sometimes days without one lick of rest.
Mhm.
And their diets, as we have found out many times, are ridiculous. But they're also not telling you they're taking all these other supplements and vitamins to counteract the little that they're eating or that they're able to eat. So,
And, sometimes other things.
other things, other things, whether you want to like, say, yes, they do these things, they
Mm,
do. They have to some way or another. Like there's no way that your body is going to function with everything that's going on and without you giving its replenishing its energy.
yeah.
There's something in there. We don't know what. Can't assume, but
Yeah,
there's
and
something in there.
don't apply this to the artists you know that are everywhere
Right.
doing everything all
No.
at once. Don't do that.
No.
We're
No.
just saying that it takes a lot
It
to do
takes
what
a
they do.
lot.
Just like it takes a lot to do what you do in your life,
Mhm.
it takes a lot for them to do this. And on top of that, the mental strain of trying to keep
Mental.
everyone happy on top of that.
And the struggle of like, are you good enough?
Right.
Like, are you good enough? Do they like me? Because this is all about people liking them. This
Uh-huh.
is literally a job about people liking them.
Yeah.
So there's so much stress and like just mental health issues that come with that like, you know, it all affects everything they do. So unless it's being taken care of correctly, you know, we have
Yeah.
things happen.
So let's send some good vibes to the
Yes.
girls' way, to everyone that's involved. Let's just hope that things resolve
Yes.
the way that it should resolve. People apologize. They need to apologize.
Yes.
They correct their wrongs. That they, in a perfect world, they rectify everything that has happened. But we
Please.
know that in this world, and also in the K-pop verse,
Yes.
that usually is not a thing. So
Yeah.
good vibes to all the honeys
Good
and pussy
vibes
pussy.
everywhere. I hope everything gets resolved. Please don't make this messier than it already is.
Because it's messy, child.
Because it can get worse from here, and I hope
Mm,
it
mm.
doesn't. And I hope that the girls, because They have, just like everybody else in that company, has worked really hard to do what they do. And I just hope that whoever is advises them correctly and not just to gain something out of them. So yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about T.O.P.
T.O.P.
First of all, if you want to know anything about me, I am a proud VIP. Okay. I have always been a proud VIP, will always be a proud VIP. That's it. Okay. Their music is iconic and changed the scope of K-pop and how things sound today. A lot of the groups that you listen to today exist because Big Bang existed and created what they created. You can even see those interactions as recently as NCT at the Jim Jabong singing Bang Bang Bang. And I mean, if any group is going to do it, it makes sense that group would do it. So that is not to say that I excuse any of the foolishness that has happened within this group. And I am not getting into any of that. But the one thing we will get into is Mr. T.O.P, who is not only my favorite in all of K-pop, but it's also my ultimate. Okay. Yes. Let me tell you, the first time I heard that voice, I was like, who is this? How does he sound like he from Brooklyn? Where did that come from? What? And then just to read up on and just find out that he wasn't just rapping to rap. Like, this man really studied the history of music, of hip hop, of the culture. And he knew the greats and he admired the greats. And the fact that, story goes from their book, he mentioned that his grandfather was a famous poet and that he wrote poetry. And when he heard Biggie for the first time, he realized, oh, I can translate my poetry into this music. And it also helped that Biggie was of the plus size persuasion. And at that time, Top was also of the plus size persuasion. If you don't know that, you might be new to the game. Look it up.
Yeah.
He saw himself reflected in this Black dude that was rapping and just cool with it. And it encouraged him to be cool with it too, to just be himself and be cool with it. And I thought that was so dope to feel that appreciation. And so I've been rocking with him ever since. And like, he is a cut above and he is respected. When Tableau, they asked him what is hip hop and he said top. I was like, I feel for Tableau to say that.
That's right.
If you don't know what that's at, look it up. It's on YouTube. But like, come on, like that's deep. You know what I mean? So granted, back in 2017, while he was a conscripted officer in the military, it was found out that he had puffed past the marijuana back in October of 2016. And while it's something that the international fans especially are like, dude, like, come on, it's just weed. It's an issue within South Korea. It's illegal. And a lot of people don't know that it's also mostly illegal because of how the US used to view marijuana back in the 30s. And that's a big influence on that. And there's a lot of worse things you could be doing that are legal, like smoking and drinking and a whole bunch of other stuff. But in this particular case, it's not allowed. So when it's not allowed, you can't do it. And no matter how little or how infrequently it actually happened, it happened. This man apologized, did all the things he had to do, did everything he had to do, yet and still there was a witch hunt and a crucifixion on this man's back, so much so that he almost OD'd on his legally prescribed anxiety medication. Let's pause there. So he's being crucified for smoking puffs of weed that will not hurt him or anyone else, but he almost OD'd on his legally prescribed anxiety medication. Just let that sink in. And all because of how the public was coming after him and his family. So much so that his mother had to come out and say, leave my boy alone.
That's right.
She don't play about her son. He don't play about his mama. If you know anything about Top, you know this. But it should not have had to come to this. At the same instance that everyone is upset about other people who are unfortunately no longer here.
That's right.
This falls in that same instance. And there is no situation in which you should be cheering for and hoping for the demise of someone's life to no longer be here because you feel like they did something wrong that was egregious and horrible.
I will say this for those people that do that, look within yourself and find out what it is that makes you want to do this because you are acting on a way that you're wishing harm on somebody. You're wishing harm on somebody. Do you understand what that means? Like you're literally wishing harm for somebody to end their life just because of your own opinion of them. That makes no sense. Look within yourself and find what it is that is wrong you're going through, whatever it is that you're going through, that is making you want to wish harm on other people. Like, please look for help
Mhm.
because there's something definitely wrong with you.
Yes.
You need to go talk to somebody about these feelings that you're having because God forbid you end up turning into somebody that ends up acting on them. And I hope that's not something that you want.
And it's like this false sense of ownership that comes
Right.
with the quote unquote idol. This is why we talked about earlier, not using the term idol. Like these are
Mhm.
artists, these are people. Because when you say idol, it makes them otherworldly. It makes them
You
have
put them
to
on a
reach certain
pedestal.
standards to be
Right.
on a pedestal, like you're saying, to be the statue. And that's not it. These are imperfect people, just like we are all
Mhm.
imperfect people. And that is not excusing anything that happens with these people, but it's just putting it back into perspective.
That's
Number
right.
one, these are regular people. The person that you see, that they allow you to see on camera, that they allow you to communicate with, that they allow you to interact with, is
Mhm.
not the whole person. You
That's
do
right.
not know these people.
That's right.
No matter how much they show you, you don't know them. The greatest
Mhm.
person that you admire could disappoint you by how they act in real life
In a quick
in
second.
a very quick second. And they don't deal with that very well.
They no. And as we've seen throughout history, some of our favorites that used to be our favorites could do all types of
Horrible
crazy
things.
things. Okay.
Horrible
And
things.
then this also goes back to, you know, how intense and how crazy this witch hunt for Top was when, like you said, it was said 2 puffs of marijuana when you have
From an
people
e-cigarette.
on
It
TV
wasn't even a
right
joint.
now.
It wasn't
Right.
even the edible. It was a puff from the
Right.
e-cigarette, a
And
vape.
like, how did he cause harm to anybody by doing that?
Nope.
No, right? You have
Mm-mm.
people on TV right now in Korea that have caused harm to people knowingly. Public knows of this. They have been sent to jail for this, and
Speak on
they're
it.
still on TV right now. Where's
Mhm.
the witch hunt for him?
And let's not even get into the politicians. That's a whole
Right.
nother.
Let's not even get to
Let's not
all
get
that.
into that. But like, if you like Iron Man, like I'm dating myself again. I'm old enough to know the story behind Robert Downey Jr., who is the actor who played Iron
That's
Man.
right.
And if you love Iron Man, then you got to love all of Robert Downey Jr. And growing up in the 90s, seeing him in and out of court because of
Mhm.
drug issues, because of all types of issues, looking up all the things that he was
Yep.
arraigned on, because that's in the past. If you want to know, look it up. But he would have been instantly canceled in y'all book. There's no
That's right.
way he would have come back and been
Mm-mm.
Iron Man in your book because
Nope.
of all the things that he went through. But thankfully, he made it through that.
Mhm.
That's what you should be focused on. Thankfully, he made
Exactly.
it through that and he no longer needs to do those things.
Right.
And now he will forever be known forevermore
Mhm.
as Iron Man.
Right.
And that's it. Shout out for the redemption story.
As far as we know, he's doing great.
Yes.
Like, people can have redemption on what they do to themselves.
Mhm.
I will be very clear about this. If you have committed a crime to hurt somebody else, I don't even know what to say about that.
I
Like,
mean,
that's completely different. There's still
there's
redemption and
still
all that
redemption
stuff.
there. But
But
like,
when we're talking about somebody that did no harm to anybody else with what he was being accused of, and
And to be for real, did no harm to himself either.
right, right.
Until he did no harm to
Until
himself until y'all
until
made him do harm to
yeah,
himself.
and that's the other thing. All of you that go after somebody just online, like, online doesn't mean that you get to hide behind the internet and just be evil, because that's what you're being evil. Like, that doesn't mean you get to hide. That doesn't mean that what you do doesn't cause people to, like, their mental health, just like yours, is fragile. Okay?
Mhm.
You doing all these things, this whole fan wars, all of these net citizens that are just going off and wishing harm on people, like, stop that. Just stop. Like, there's no reason for doing that. Like, go do something better with your time. Go talk to a psychiatrist. Like, just find help. If there's something that you're feeling bad about, if you're stressed and you just want to let out steam, go into one of those rooms that you get to hit stuff. Like, pour your anger out onto something that is not going to hurt you or other people.
Yeah. And if you're wondering why we're talking about this in 2023,
Right.
it's because y'all bought it up again. So
Y'all did. Like, why? Why are we doing this again? It's
right.
2023. We should already know not to do this.
So redemption, speaking of redemption,
Yes.
when you talk about redemption stories, shout out to Top for creating his own redemption story.
Yes.
So let's
Yes.
start there. So when this man got out of the military, everyone was waiting for him to come out and make a public statement to the media. He said, F y'all, and did a whole fan meeting for the people who stood beside him the
Mhm,
entire time that he went through his journey
mhm,
and went to go meet them. If that wasn't the best middle finger to your face, I don't know what was. Because seriously, focus on the
mhm,
people who care for you, who supported you, and F them haters, because
mhm,
there's no point. And they
mhm.
couldn't say anything about it. They couldn't do anything about it because he already
Yeah.
did it. Shout
Yeah.
out to him for that. Then on top of that, my dude made his own music, said, I'm
Mhm,
making my own music. You'll hear it if I want you to hear it.
mhm.
And then came back with the group, made a song, hinted at the fact that he was going to the moon to be the
Yep.
first Korean citizen in the
Yep.
moon in space. Like, dude, that's huge. That's a huge redemption story. Talk about
Yeah.
being a pride to your country after they won't even show your face on screen, on camera no
Right.
more.
Right.
And then most recently was announced to join the mega hit Squid Game
Squid
2
Game.
sequel as
Yeah.
a cast member.
I'm
Yeah.
so excited for that. I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of Squid Game.
Yeah.
I am so freaking excited for that. That is freaking awesome.
Talk about the perfect casting.
Right.
Okay.
Like,
Like,
he's
come
a
on.
great actor. Everybody
Yes.
knows he's a great actor.
Yes.
Like, come on. Come
The
on.
the whole quote unquote, oh, this is turned into a B grade movie. First of
Co
all, a B
What?
grade movie is still a good movie. Second of
Right.
all, don't come for Top. Don't come for
No.
him like that. Don't do it. Because he, like Andrea has said, he is an amazing actor.
Yeah, like,
He is a great artist. And y'all get mad about how he left Big Bang. He don't want to record. He said he not making no more music in Korea for this very reason. Y'all keep proving
mhm,
his point. This
mhm.
why he don't want to come back for y'all, because y'all acted
Right.
this.
Right.
Don't nobody else care like y'all do.
Right.
Like, stop it. Stop.
Right. It's so intense for no reason.
Mm.
No reason at all.
And before
Like,
y'all come out and say, "Oh, you're in America, it's different."
no,
We
come
got
on.
common
We
sense is
got a
common
lot of
sense.
examples.
Common sense is common sense, regardless of any of those differences. How
Right.
you do unto others as you would have done unto
Exactly.
you is a common thread throughout this entire world.
Right.
Don't
And
use that as a scapegoat.
we all know there's a lot of different things going on behind the scenes that are probably the cause of this and that are feeding onto this,
Yes.
because there's we know not everybody is this way. We know not everybody has the same opinion.
Mhm.
It's just the ones that are the loudest are the ones that are being
Mhm.
shown. So just because you are the loudest doesn't mean that you're also the majority. I will say this.
That's it. Top, do the damn thing, okay?
Do it.
We already know.
Freaking
I am
excited to
excited.
see you on screen again. Freaking excited to see,
Child.
like,
My face was
you
in shock for
acting.
about 5 minutes after I
Me
saw
too. I was like, "What?"
epic announcement. They didn't even have to say nothing.
Get
You
it,
just look at the
top.
picture. What?
Right. And also the fact that he is just an artist in so many different ways, like with his actual
He's a
art
sommelier.
collection.
He
Yeah,
has
like,
his
what?
own wine country in Argentina. Like
What?
he has llamas, alpacas. Sorry. Like, come on. Like
He's crazy. He is a man that's a sommelier with
Yes.
alpacas that is going to the freaking moon.
Exactly. Come on
Is he
now.
gonna take one with him?
That's a Renaissance man. That's an all around.
Right,
He know everything, do everything. Come on now.
all-rounder.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I know it's gonna be great. It doesn't matter that the lead character is one of his best friends. That had nothing to
Right.
do with his casting.
No,
Before y'all
that
say
had
anything
nothing
about
to
that,
do.
and he also came out and said he had nothing to do with it.
Mhm.
Had everything to do with Top's talent.
That's
So I'm
right.
looking forward to seeing Top's talent on the big
Right.
screen again. And shout out to him if he does actually make it to the moon. Hopefully he makes it
Yes.
safely back.
Come on, dear moon, get your ish together.
Yes.
We've been waiting. I mean, I kind of, it's the moon, but still.
Yeah.
Just be safe. Be safe out
Yes.
there.
And y'all, we just gave you a very small summary of all the things that we have read and try to understand just like you. We're coming at you from made by the fans for the fans content.
That's
We
right.
are fans ourselves and we're just trying to figure it all out just like you are. We're just voicing our opinions on it. So feel free to join the conversation, send us emails, send us comments, all the fun things. Let us know what you think about this situation and we'll keep the conversation going. We'll be back.